Welcome to the speaker series on a shot glass of recovery.
Yeah. You get a house, you get a car, then you start thinking that's all you are, but you don't know the truth. So let me spell it out for you. Now I got your attention, now there's a start. Now sit and listen to my favorite part. Life's been giving us some clues. The answer lies inside of your.
I am Lisa, the host of A Shot Glass of Recovery, and this is our speaker series. Let's sit back and get ready for some more experience, strength, and hope.
Why, thank you, Miss Kelly, and thank you, Mike, for asking me to share today. My name is Tricia, and I am an alcoholic. This is my home group. I love this group. This is my tribe, my family, my people. And wow, my brain just went blank. This is going to be an interesting talk. My sobriety date is January 1st, 2011. And I have a sponsor who knows she's my sponsor most of the time because I do reach out to her sporadically. She threatens to fire me and then I reach out more. You know how it goes. What it was like, what it's like now. All right, my experience, strength, and hope. Well, I feel like I was born alcoholic. I don't know if anyone else in this room can identify with that, but I feel like I had the ism early on. My earliest memory as a child that comes to mind when I think about that is when I was in kindergarten and I had to go to the bathroom, and it was the end of the day and all the teachers were busy and I kept like trying to get their attention, and I was a polite, well-behaved child because that's what my mother insisted I be. So I was that hero child, the good student one, and I couldn't get an adult's attention, so I ended up peeing my pants. And I remember feeling like I didn't deserve their attention. I remember all these feelings like I was a horrible person at 5. At 5, I remember feeling that way, like I wasn't good enough. And that's how it was for me in the beginning. So it's like, again, I feel like I was born this way. I was born into a crazy family, a crazy Irish family that drinks because the day ends in Y. And they are, whew, they're an interesting lot of people, you know? Yes, they really are. I was just, whew. Anyway, so my drinking began as anything else. You know, I was standing in a Irish festival. I was young, maybe like 10, 11, 12-ish. And my mom said to hold her beer for a minute. And I said, okay. And I pretended to drink. And she's like, go ahead, drink some. And that's how my drinking began. Because it was encouraged. It was almost expected that you were going to drink. That was my very first drink. Lots of stuff happens. You know, as you know, you're all alcoholics in this room, and I want to welcome every single one of you. And if this is your first time here, please stay. We love it. We love it here, and your life can get so much better. So Mike has me wearing this shirt because they call me Tricia, Life Gets Lifey, you know, LGL. And man, does life get lifey. But none of that stuff makes me an alcoholic. Not the people dying or the physical, mental, sexual abuse. None of that makes me an alcoholic. It doesn't help any of it, but it didn't make me an alcoholic. What happens is at some point while I was drinking, I could not stop. I had no control over that. The minute I took that drink, the drink took me. And it took me on many adventures, not all good, you know? And I didn't have a choice in many of those things. I really didn't. Because I have this allergy to alcohol. That's what makes me an alcoholic. I am different than those quote unquote normal people. I don't know any normal people, but I'm sure they're out there in this world somewhere. I wasn't raised with any normal people, so I wouldn't know how to spot one in the wild, you know? So that's the first thing that makes me an alcoholic is the fact that I have this allergy that once I put the alcohol in my body reacts differently to it than those normies. The second part, and probably the part that is worse, because if I don't take that first drink, the allergy doesn't develop, you know? So that I don't wanna say that's the easy part, but out of the 2, I feel like that's the easier part, because the second part is the mental obsession. OMG, do I have a mental obsession? I have this voice in my head that talks to me, and it's in my own voice, and it tells me all sorts of crazy things like, "You can have that drink. It'll be different this time. F it, because 'cause I'm gonna try to behave and not curse. Let's see how far I can get with that. F it, who cares? It You're so much more fun when you're drinking. Look how boring you are now, you know? You're a piece of garbage. You're a bad mom. You're a bad wife. You're a bad friend." My brain, oh, man, it gets pretty dark up there sometimes. Like, as far as, like, "Oh, you should just kill yourself." And then I'm thinking, "Oh, I can't just kill myself. I have a," as you guys, most of you are members here, so I have a kid that is my life gets lifey, and I have a husband who I love dearly, and they both need me. And so in my head, it tells me, "Okay, don't commit suicide. We're gonna kill ourselves and them too, so at least I know that they're not struggling without me." This is what this crazy brain in my head tells me, that voice, that disease. So I feel like that is the harder part because that doesn't shut off. That never shuts off, you know? Does it get easier? Does it get less? Yes. How? Okay. That's where we get to the program. Because without the program, let me tell you, I've this isn't my first rodeo. I came in when I was 24 years old because at 24 years old, I had run out of lies. That's where my drinking got me. At 24, I had no more lies. I had no more excuses to not go to work. I had no more anything. It was just so much work. How is it at 24 you can run out of excuses? And that's what led to my initial visit, I guess you would say, to AA, because I didn't stay at that point, because I didn't find any solution. So the mental obsession in my head got worse. It got so bad that I thought I was crazy. Who I don't know how many people here have ever been to the psych ward, but I've been to the psych ward sober. Yay! Why? Because I thought I was crazy. Like, this is what happens to Tricia without a drink and without a solution. I end up in psych wards more than once, put on suicide watch, almost to the point where I have to go to court to get myself out of these places. Like I do everything to an extreme. There is no gray area in my life still. I try very hard to live in the gray, and I'm really a black or white person. All or nothing. I think that's personally, I think that's an alcoholic trait, but what the heck do I know? I'm just one alcoholic amongst many. So things got bad, as I'm sure you guys know. I don't need to go into my drunkalog any further. I had no choice in the drink. Once I started drinking, I couldn't stop. And the mental obsession brought me back to that drink repeatedly, repeatedly, and repeatedly, and repeatedly. So what do? I come to AA. And like I said, that first time around, I white knuckled it. Oh man, were my knuckles white. And I was miserable. I was so miserable that it was like, why don't you just drink? That's how miserable I was without a drink and without a solution. Because left to my own devices, I don't know how to live. I didn't have role models growing up. I mean, I did, but it was for, like, alcoholism. So they weren't I knew how to throw a party. I knew how to make sure I had enough beer in the house for said party. Like, I learned things. Were they life skills? I guess if you were gonna live that kind of life. Did I know how to, like, I don't know, balance a checkbook or show up to work? Show up to work? No, I did not. I knew how to lie. I knew how to get out of work. So, all of this leads me to the point of I come into these rooms and I'm miserable and I hate you. I hate you all because you are all happy. You are all happy and you're smiling, and I really think you're faking it because I'm like, no one can be that effing happy all the freaking time. Like, seriously, get over yourselves. And I thought something was going on with the coffee. I thought it was definitely some kinda sex cult. I had so many crazy thoughts going on in my head that I almost I didn't almost, I basically pushed myself out of AA because I hated you all so much. I wanted you all to feel my pain and wrath, so I'll hurt you by hurting me, because I do that best. So I'll go out. Before I went out, I had found the love of my life, or so I thought, in the rooms of AA, because that's what we do, you know? Who else are we gonna talk to? This is life, we're practicing in these rooms. So we fall in love with each other, and we get married, and we have kids, and then we relapse. These things are it's a tale as old as time, it's our happily ever after, once upon a time fairy tale, the AA couple. So I fall in love with this guy, and he tells me all these things, like how he's a garbage head and how he's so much worse than anybody else in the rooms, and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, we all think that way, right? Who here doesn't think, 'Oh my god, I drank so much worse than everybody else?'" Well, let me tell you, I've never experienced life with an alcoholic/addict as I did with him, and I grew up in a family of alcoholics/addicts. So, he might have been worse, just maybe. I don't know. But when I'm living in a house with someone who is actively using, life gets more than lifey. It's I was just existing at that point, and I'm not a victim. Oh my god, I used to think I was, "Oh, poor Tricia. Oh, what am I to do with myself? I have such a horrible husband, blah, 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 blah." And you know what? I participated in that marriage. I stayed when I stayed, and I left when I left, because that's what I did. I knew how to leave. I don't like it here. Pack a garbage bag, because who has luggage, please. Pack a garbage bag and let's get it moving. Get it moving, let's go back home. Out of the pot into the fire, out of the pot into the fire. I knew how to do that. I lived that. So it's an easy thing. So I get to AA, and I have this, and now I have this life, right? I don't like this life because it's not good. And so I decide I made the conscious decision to pick up a drink. That's how insane it was. After 3 years of white knuckling it, I picked up a drink and it went down like nails. It scratched my throat, and ugh, it was horrible. And it took me several years to get back to these rooms because I resented you all so much. And really what it was is I hated me. I hated me so much, and I hated you because you were just like me, but you were happy. And so when I finally came back to AA, it wasn't for me. It was after doing a geographical. Yes, I do them. We all do, I feel. At some point, we go from the pot to the fire. And you know what I realized after the geographicals? I'm always there. So the problem comes with me. It's always there. There's no greener grass on the other side, not if you bring yourself with you. So stay where you are, figure out how to make your grass green. That's the truth there. So I go back to the meetings because this ex-husband of mine, he needs help. And I'm like, and he's like, please come to AA with me. And I was like, okay, fine. So I go back to meetings, and that was the start of, at this point, I had a kid. I am just back. He's already messing up, and life is crazy with a heroin, crack addict, alcoholic. That's how I lived in that insanity. And that's where I got sober. That's where I got sober. In behind enemy lines, living in the lion's den, in insanity of my own making. That's where I got sober. Did he get sober? No. No, he didn't. He eventually died of this disease. So there I am. I get a sponsor. I'm ready to do the things because I felt like I was dying. I felt like I was dying on the inside. I don't know if you guys have ever felt that, but it's a horrible, horrible way of existing. And I didn't want to die because I had this kid now. Ugh, kids. Who thinks that's a good idea? Psst. Anyway. So I get the sponsor and we start going through the steps. And like I said, I am living in a war zone for an alcoholic. And I think that's exactly where I needed to be, because that's exactly where I was. And it made me realize that you can get sober no matter what. You can find God no matter what. You can be amongst the living dead and live. So step one, my life, an alcoholic, check. I thought I was an alcoholic, like I said, since I was born. My life was unmanageable. Hello, have we been paying attention? Yes. Was I unmanageable? Most definitely. Undisciplined, unmanageable, unbelievably crazy. I have my psych ward discharge papers to prove that one. So yes, check. Came to believe that a power greater than myself would restore me to sanity. I wasn't sure if that was possible, honestly. I had lived in the insanity for so long, I never thought I could be sane. And I still question that some days, but I know I'm way saner than I ever was before, so that's good. So check, yes. My sponsor had me write out my ideal of God. What I got to choose who my God was. So anybody here who is like, ugh, God, whatever, don't worry about it. Don't stand in your own way, because that's what we do. We pick a thing and then we just fixate on it, and we're just like, I can't because I don't have God. Well, you can. You can. Trust me on this one. You can. You can start. It just takes willingness. Just a little, just crack the door open. If you don't like the word, pick a different noun. Oh man, it doesn't need to be God. It could be anything you want it to be. That's the best part of this program. God is just a word. It's a concept. It's an idea. And it could be whatever you want it to be. That's the beauty. That's how this works. So I wrote out this concept of God, and I grew up in a Catholic religious, well, not religious. My family was not religious at all. They tried to make us religious, but we weren't. So I had some CCD, like whatever, did all my sacraments because that's what you did. And my mom would always tell me, God's going to punish you. That was her. God's going to punish you. I can actually see her and hear her in my head telling me this. She is that negative voice in my head sometimes, you know? So I can hear her saying, God's going to punish you whenever I did anything, good, bad, or indifferent. God's going to punish you. God's going to punish you. Okay, God's punishing me. And that's what I really felt like my life was one big punishment up until that point, So I didn't want that God. That God didn't work for me. So I worked on almost like The unconditional love of a puppy? I mean, come on. That's God. That's God right there. If you don't like puppies, maybe it's the semi-conditional love of a cat because they're a little bit more choosy. So I did that. Next, made a decision. Did I make a decision? I don't know. I had no clue what I was signing up for. We show up here and they say, these are the things you need to do. Okay. Where do I sign? Do you need blood? You know? No? Okay, great. Did I make that decision consciously? Probably not at first. The first time I did the third step, not at all. Like I said, I had no idea what I was doing. So, what does it say right after you finish that third step? It says we launch into vigorous action. I think that's what it says. I may be mistaken. So, for me, that was my educational variety of learning to trust, learning to make that decision. I just trusted the process. And that's what we did. I just trusted the process and I wrote out this fourth step, which was very crazy, crazy long because who knew Tricia was so resentful, huh? 7 one-subject notebooks later, and to believe that I still have people that I'm resentful at is just ridiculous. But I guess I was a resentful little bee, you know? And that's okay. I wrote that out and I was promised in my home group that if I did these things, I would have freedom. And when I say the word freedom, I think of Mel Gibson at the end of Braveheart as William Wallace, and he's screaming, "Freedom!" That's what I mean, freedom. That kind of freedom I was promised. And you know what? I had gotten it. And I still have it. And it didn't happen maybe all at once, but it happened. Let me tell you guys, I did that fifth step, and my sponsor, besides saying she'd never go to my hometown because they were all crazy, which I didn't disagree with, but I got the freedom. And the even better part of it was she identified with some of those worst things that I said out loud and admitted to another human being. She identified and shared some of her own stuff. So I wasn't this special and unique unicorn. No, I was just run-of-the-mill alcoholic, you know? 'Cause we think we're so horrible in our own heads when really everyone in this room has done the same stuff, and if you haven't, I'm sure we all know another person in the rooms who have, because we all do the same things. You put a drink in us and we're all doing the same things. Which brings us to number 6, the character defects. Character defects I work on. I yes. My fix, manage, and control is glaring most of the time, and I ask for help with that, because some of them are harder to give up. Some of them we think are good, you know? Like, what's wrong with me fix, managing, controlling everybody? What's wrong with me people pleasing? Lots. There's lots wrong with all of it, Trish. If I'm doing it, of course I'm doing it to excess because, again, black or white, all or nothing. I'm either in or I'm out all the time. So I don't know how to do moderation. So if I fix, manage, and controlling, I'm micromanaging. That's a nice way of saying micromanaging. So I'm either all up in your business or I'm completely out of it. And that's what I've learned with my own character defects. And that's the only one I'm going to go into because there are plenty. We all have them because, again, we're not unique. So 7, again, in the book, it's like one little baby paragraph, but that 7-step prayer, I just want to highlight the fact that it says, take all of me, good and bad, because if we really think about it, do I know what is good or what is bad? Let's think about that one. If you're sitting in this room, you may not have an idea of what's good and what's bad, because I really thought that being a fall down, pee my pants drunk was a great idea. I really thought that that's where I needed to be. I thought going to these basement squares or whatever meetings was a bad idea. So my brain may be, again, that mental obsession the insanity of my own mind may not be the best place to make decisions at first, because we do get better as sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. I might be in that slowly bunch, and that's fine. But it gets better as we stay, as we practice, as we do the things. So 8, I made this list because that's what 8 is. I made a list and I prayed about being willing to make amends to these people that I had hurt, because I thought I was unique and I didn't hurt anybody because, I mean, honestly, everyone I drank with was alcoholic. So were we really hurting each other, or were we just vibing off each other's misery? I don't know. But my side of the street, I needed to clean it up because I needed a fresh start. I needed a clean path to move forward on, because we are building. I'm going to say it. We're building an archway to freedom. Love it. So we want a clear path to go through that. And yay, I know I mentioned it. I have to. I love my archway to freedom. So we cleaned the path. So I started making these amends, and I had to write letters because some people were gone, and I had to go to people I didn't want to go to, and I had to pay money to creditors and things like that, because that's another thing. I was never taught how to use money. You know, you use money, you bought your drinks, and then you did everything else. You know, that's what I was taught. Rent was optional. Electricity was optional. Food, optional. As long as we had something in the ice for the cooler, if we didn't have the electric, or just enough booze in the fridge, we were good. And then we could go forward from there. So I had to learn that. You guys taught me how to be a financially responsible human being. Isn't that crazy? I know. Who knew? I actually have a bank account with money in it. That's crazy. All my bills are paid. I have a credit score that is excellent. Literally, it says excellent. And I'm like, how'd that happen? Because that wasn't me. I didn't know how to do that. You guys taught me how to do these things. You taught me how to be a human being, a member of society. What? Okay, let's get back to these steps. So that's what 9 gave me. It gave me all those promises. My favorite promise is that we will use our experience to help others, because that's the money in the bank, man. That's the money in the bank. That's the God bank money. All the things that we have been through in our personal lives that we've heard others share, man, we have so much experience, good, bad, and indifferent. And I have tears coming up, and anybody who knows me knows I hate to cry. So all those things, we get to capitalize on them, good, bad, and indifferent. So all that hurt, all that fear, all that shame, we get to turn that into a beautiful currency called identification. And we get to give it to everybody in this room, in all these rooms, so they can say, oh, I'm just like that Tricia girl, which may not be a good thing, but she's a pretty decent person today. So that's a good thing. You know, I may just be like that Lisa person. You know, who knows? I don't know. So we just show up and we share these things. And that is the best currency. You guys have taught me how to take all of those horrible, degrading, immoral, incomprehensible demoralizations. Yeah, all that stuff. You guys taught me how to take that and give it to you, wrapped with a bow, and say, here, this is it. And then you take it and you say, and this is the best part. Oh, that happened to you too? You did that as well? I thought I was the only one. That's a gift. That's the real promise in that. When you hear that, when that identification comes from a newcomer or an old timer or whoever, that right there it's bringing tears to my eyes because it's that powerful. So those 9-step promises, they do come true. Every single one of them. I'm here to tell you, I will testify to it. Strap me to a polygraph. They happen. Every single one. 10. Oh man. When I first came around, they told me 10 was the basically drop it like it's hot type of thing, you know? When you are going through the day and you are, oh my God, bleh, you know? You take that, you call another person. Well, first you talk to God because ain't nothing happening until I talk to God. God, please remove that from me. Help me be patient, kind, tolerant, and loving, or whatever it is that you need to talk to God about. And then you call someone and you tell them what's going on. You drop it like it's hot, you know, lay it all out there. And then you get to turn your attention after this person, if you give them spiritual consent, that's a thing. Everyone in this room has my spiritual consent to always call me out on my BS because you know what? That's what I need. Because there's a lot of BS in this head and in my world, you know? So you all have my spiritual consent and you get to hear from another person where maybe you missed something because when we're in it, again, we're all in it. So we may not be able to see the prettiness or the ugliness of all the trees around us, depending on which way that goes in each situation. So what we need to do is have someone with that spiritual consent tell us, show us, explain to us what's going on. And then we get to turn our attention because God needs us to be useful. That's our purpose today. I was so useless for so long that today I really need to have that usefulness that only God can give me. Do I always like the roles? No. It says in the book, we are here to play the role God assigns us. And I really thought that the book was trying to offend me when I read that. Because I don't like the roles that he assigns me. I don't wanna be a mom, I don't wanna be a wife, I don't wanna be, like, responsible, you know, like, who wants those things? I want them today because I pray to God all the time, you know, to help me in those roles. Because again, I don't know how to do those things. You guys taught me those things. So, 10, 11, sought through prayer and meditation. The minute I got a sponsor, I was told to start praying and meditating. I was given certain prayers to pray. I was asked to meditate. And guys, don't make so much of a hard thing with meditation. It doesn't need to be like we're not levitating, you know, we're not. We need to just get quiet. And I know that can be very difficult. And it doesn't need to be an hour of quiet. Hell, I can't even get to a minute of quiet some days. But we can acknowledge the chattering, ask God to remove it, and then get back to being quiet. My favorite meditation that I share with everyone, because meditation is it could be anything. It really can, just like your God. My favorite one that was taught to me was breathing in good or God or whatever and releasing the negativity or Tricia's will, you know, because that's what I fix, manage, and control. So if you can, and I have to say it because if I'm saying it in my head, at least there's less chatter because it's busy up there, you know? So breathe in good, breathe out, Tricia, and it can be that simple. Because if you're only praying and talking to God, you may not be hearing him. And that's what meditation is. Meditation is where we hear God. I also hear God in all of you, even if we don't speak the same language. If God needs me to hear something, guess what? I'm going to hear it. And that I love that about God. He is definitely, and I say he, I mean, you know, it it's they're just words. They're just pronouns. Today we have all those pronouns. So I did 10, 11, 12. Ooh, 12. Getting to share it, getting to practice. And they use that word because it takes practice. It takes practice. Practicing in all my affairs because I could be amazing for an hour in one of these rooms, in one of these squares. What is Tricia like once I hit leave, end meeting? What is Tricia like then? Well, you can ask Mike. Some days, not so great. Some days, I'm all right. Like I said, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. I'm the later part, slowly, slow backwards turtle pace some days. And that's okay because I'm sober, which is amazing. And I get to be a sponsor. Those poor ladies that asked me to sponsor them. They must be crazier than me. So I love them. I get to give what was so freely given to me. And I love being a sponsor. I really do. I love reading the book. There's something that happens when you sit down across the table or modem to modem, as the book says, and you open up that book and you start reading. There's magic in there. And that is it's beautiful to share that magic with someone else. Yeah, definitely. I love that magic. So I can be very passionate when I start reading the book, and every chapter is my favorite. So if I say, "Oh, this is my favorite," it's the book. The whole book is. Whew. So sharing my sharing with another person, best thing ever. God's funny because after that marriage ended, my first marriage, I decided I was never going to even look at men again because I hated them all. So what did he do? He gave me another man from these rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And you guys all know him. And what a difference. What a difference to be married to someone in AA who actually has a program, who does these things. What a serene and loving house we can have at times because, again, we're human. So life gets lifey. And sometimes it's not all kittens and rainbows. I don't think I've seen a kitten or a rainbow in a long time some days, but that's okay because I know they exist. They're real. But I get to walk with this man and we get to support each other and love each other through all the good, bad, and indifferent. And that I've never known anything like this that I have with my husband today. I didn't know that this could exist. So not all the AA marriages are bad. I can testify. I've had one of each. So I keep telling Mike, I'm like, Mike, you can't die because if you die, they're going to call me the Black Widow of AA. So I keep telling him, like, no, don't die. So we have our struggles. We share them because through those struggles, there's identification. And we love you guys. We really do. Every single one of you. I hope that you all sent Miss Heather your sobriety times because we want to celebrate you. We do. Every single one of you. I love you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Just a quick reminder to subscribe, like, or follow if you like the show on any of your favorite listening platforms. If you like the speakers and other content on the podcast, please show us some love by leaving a review and consider making a PayPal contribution to help keep the show going at paypal.me/a shot glass of recovery. Every dollar makes a difference, and we thank you. Our speakers come from my AA home group, AA Solution Seekers. We meet every day at 7 a.m., so pop in sometime and say hello. Until next time, thanks for joining me on A Shot Glass of Recovery.
Everything you do The answer lies inside you.